So let's talk politics in Queensland because this gets a little interesting. If you may have seen the news lately, you might have heard that Queensland had an election. Now, at the end of the day, the news is trying to beat this up as One Nation, Pauline Hanson's worst time ever, and they're doomed, and everything along those lines. Which, well, it's true they did not pick up a lot of seats. There's a lot of interesting facts. So, first things first, let's talk pre-election. Some of you may have seen, if you're in Australia, the ad campaign that was run against One Nation and Liberals. Basically, what the ad was, it consisted of, is this. Now, what they were saying is that if you vote for Pauline Hanson or the Liberals, they're going to swap preferences and they're going to put each other in power.
He's slightly out in front, but Labor is hoping new attack ads linking Mr Nichols and One Nation will do the trick.
You'll get the cuts and the nuts. Either way, it'll be ugly for Queensland.
Typical Anastasia Palaszczuk. No new plans, no new policies, fear, smear and no idea.
The problem with that is that it was actually new laws that were passed where your preferences were actually dictated by you. While it is true that, yes, Liberals and Pauline Hanson and that did give each other preferences some of the times, which, by the way, wasn't generally a lot anyway, but regardless, it was still up to you whether you decided whether you wanted to follow the how to vote card or you can pick your own preferences. So, for example, you would have got something like this. If you follow it, you go in, and then obviously your preferences go to Liberal. So to give you an idea of what I actually mean, say for example you want to support Pauline Hanson, but at the end of the day, if she doesn't get in, you want to then give your preferences to Labor. According to this ad, that wasn't going to happen, that your preferences would automatically go to the opposition or to the Liberal Party. Now that was, like I said, was a complete load of shit, because when you went in, you actually had to number all the boxes. So when you went through, you would put 1, for example, for Pauline Hanson, and then you could put, for example, Labor, Liberal, whoever you wanted for your next preference. So it was very much a fair campaign that they ran, completely dishonest, completely a smear campaign, and complete load of shit. So at the end of the day, you're probably wondering, is that it? Well, no, that's just one thing that did go against the One Nation Party. So what else? What else stopped her from getting elected? Okay, so let's talk about number of seats. This Queensland election, there were 93 seats up for grabs. Pauline Hanson didn't actually run 93 candidates like the LNP and Labor actually did. They actually only ran 61. So there are a lot of candidates that people couldn't vote for. If you go onto the Facebook page for Pauline Hanson's support page, there are a lot of people saying that there weren't any One Nation people in their resident or in the area. So that also doesn't help them at all, because then you have to vote for somebody else. Now, at the end of the day, it wasn't just that either. It was also the fact that the two major parties, the Labor and Liberals, basically teamed up with everybody else to basically make sure they didn't win. So what do I mean by that? So for example, the Australian Labor Party or ALP, they wouldn't give any preferences or take any preferences from Pauline Hanson. So they completely didn't want to deal with them. Liberals were a little bit more inclined to take some of the preferences, but this only really looked like it only happened in a handful of seats. And then obviously the Labor Party also teamed up with the Greens, which they normally always do. So you had Labor and Greens basically versing Pauline Hanson's One Nation Party and or the Liberal Party. Now, at the end of the day, considering the fact that we normally only had a two-party system, Labor and Liberal, it was actually quite impressive how well Pauline Hanson actually did. Now, what you see on the screen is a breakdown of all the seatings, all the seats, that are all the information I had at the time. So in the first column, obviously, that is the seat that we're talking about. The second column is the amount of votes cast, or percentage counted, sorry. Third one, or the third and fourth, that is the Liberals' points, percentage, and how much the difference. The 5th and 6th actually comes as Labor, so that was their total percentage, and how the swing on that. The 7th, 8th actually comes up as Pauline Hanson's One Nation Party. Same thing, total votes and the swing. Then you had the Greens, then you had the Cutter Party, and then you had Independents. So at the end of the day, looking at these figures, you can basically tell that the Liberals were in a lot of shit. They had a lot of people leave their party and go and vote for different parties. That's why a lot of their figures are in the red. Now, at the end of the day, Labor really needs to get off their high horse because they did slightly better than Liberal, but there's a lot of red in these figures as well. In fact, the only party that really, the two parties, that didn't actually lose any ground was Pauline Hanson's One Nation and the Independents. Now, some of these seats were brand new seats because of restructuring and whatnot that Labor did literally before the election. So at the end of the day, yeah, there are some big numbers here, but even some of these seats are up 20 or 30%. That is a big swing. So at the end of the day, when they sit there and they make shit or they point shit at Pauline Hanson, claiming that this party's a joke and that they're doomed and everything like that, no. At the end of the day, in fact, I actually think One Nation did really, really well, considering they're a new party. At the end of the day, what stopped them from getting elected was just the fact that they didn't quite get across the post first. A lot of places they actually came second. And it was pretty much a race between One Nation and Labor. So they actually did pretty good, to be honest. So why is the Liberal media or the left-wing media going through and hyping this up like they are? Because they don't want Pauline Hanson to win, basically. The mainstream media has never liked Pauline. She's very much like Trump is over in the US. Think of the Labor and Liberals as Republicans and Democrats. You have Pauline Hanson, who's very much a nationalist and wants closed borders and everything along those lines, and actually did pretty well considering. Now, it's true she didn't get quite as much of the votes as they thought. They thought maybe she'll get around 20%. She got around 14 at last count. But to be honest, they still are counting these votes as well, so we're not quite sure what the total number is as of yet. But yeah, basically, guys, it just seemed to be that she didn't quite get enough votes to win outright. And then with the preferences with the Greens, plus the Labor running the fear campaign on the TV, it did seem to go against it just a tiny little bit, enough to make that difference. Now, do keep in mind, we are obviously going to be having an election later or early next year, thinking it might be an early February election. So at the end of the day, it'll be interesting how she actually goes in that election. They're actually admitted that they only had the 61 seats and that they needed more. So the next time the election is actually in February, we should actually have the whole 93 seats for Pauline Hanson, which will be good. So everybody can actually vote for her and they don't have to worry about that. And at the end of the day, it'll be interesting to see, because at the end of the day, I think Labor and Liberal are in a lot of trouble. You have a look at some of these figures, there are some big drops off from the Liberals, but Labor, get off your high horse, because you guys are also losing a lot of ground as well. But guys, let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. Do you think I got this right? Do you think I got this wrong? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. If this video has been helpful, please smack a like. If you're new to the channel, welcome and subscribe. And apart from that, guys, I'll see you in the next demonetized video from YouTube. Have a great day and enjoy.